What are the details on the Wall Street changes?
Yes, well, as you mentioned, Francine, they're introducing some measures that I think are designed to make staff feel more comfortable with going back into the office amid the Delta spread. So, masks might be demanded in the offices. They're probably going to be running more COVID tests to prevent small outbreaks from spreading. And as you mentioned, Morgan Stanley is now going to be asking for proof of a vaccination and not just, taking employees' word for that. I mean, I guess the objective here is to, make individuals feel, as I said, more comfortable about going in. I mean, they may have been vaccinated, but, clearly maybe their families at home haven't been. And equally, it, may give companies a bit more leverage to encourage staff to going back in. As you know, probably the banks have been extremely vocal, some of the big Wall Street firms, about wanting their employees back in the office as soon as possible, because that's where the best work gets done. That's where creativity, flourishes, and that's where junior bankers learn the trades of the game.
Are banks, Elisa, now softening their stance on actually getting bankers back to the office?
Yes, no, as hand in hand with the tighter measures, they're also signaling there may not be a firm date for a return to the office. There's going to be more flexibility into the autumn. And, you've got to imagine that from here onwards, they'll have to keep playing it by ear and keep, reflecting what's going on in the world out there, particularly as we go into the autumn and we'll, start seeing, the regular flu taking off again.
How have banks actually responded to the plea for help from overworked junior bankers, apart from throwing money at them?
Well, that's interesting because, as earlier this year, there was a plea from a group of junior bankers at Goldman, who felt they were, extremely overworked and they were working crazy hours. And the immediate response was primarily measures to help to lighten the load. So, firm rules over weekend working or, weekends off, and, free paid for vacations. But, more recently, it's resulted in higher pay. So you've seen right across Wall Street, from the boutiques to the larger firms, that, first-year salaries, second-year salaries going up significantly, up by more than 30% to in excess of $100,000. So money seems to be the way that, banks feel for now they can compensate for the very long days.
Elisa, at what level actually is the biggest talent war for? Is it, seniors, because we're seeing quite a lot of move-arounds, maybe people also leaving Credit Suisse, or is it the junior talent?
The juniors just as much. I mean, you have to bear in mind that, there's obviously other industries that are quite attractive. There's the technology industry. There's, even within finance, there are pockets of finance that, perhaps offer more flexibility and more sort of direct ownership of the business that is also attractive. And so, it remains to be seen whether the higher pay delivers that edge in talent acquisition among the junior bankers over the long term, because clearly these individuals at Goldman Sachs earlier this year spoke quite clearly of the drain that these hours were having on their mental and their physical health, and they're looking for something more.